Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news, discussion, and of course a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's works in the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and I'm the only one in this intro today because we talked too much about Hemalurgy in the last episode, and I know that that is really shocking to you, that we would blab a lot. But stay tuned, we're going to talk about a lot of bind points and more pedanticast action that you love or hate. I don't know. Also, quick news announcement. We are going to move Shardcast to a Friday release instead of a Thursday release. I know it's kind of a running joke that Shardcast is a day late at this stage, and I'm really sorry about that. So we're just going to make it Friday. That's going to be a lot more convenient because of my new work. So I hope you don't mind too much. Really sorry about the change. But now Wednesday and Thursday are the busiest parts of my week. So doing a bunch of podcast editing, kind of hard. Anyway, thank you so much for watching or listening, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, and I'm assuming because what we have on the chart is an Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of hard to tell. I know some people, I think, have thought about what all the metals are of all the different spikes on the chart.
Well,
but
do you want to talk about that?
It's hard to tell, but like, has anyone said that there's an adium or lerasium spike on the chart?
Here's what's
guess is no.
Here's what's going on with the bind points. Next to each quadrant, there is a metal, right?
Oh.
So each, like, next to physical, there's something that looks irony, right? Or steely, right?
Yeah.
So let's go with steel. But this is not telling you which physical thing it is. It's just saying physical bind points for Inquisitors are in these locations, right? And so there's a bronze spike over here on mental, and so that's used as a placeholder for all of these mental bind points, right? For Inquisitors. So presumably for, ferrochemical
gold for temporal.
Right. Now, I did want to talk about what metal that spiritual one is supposed to be, but, I mean, I don't know how specific we should be taking that, because that could just be like a placeholder. It was very difficult for me to Google what these metals look like, because when I Google Nigrosil, I just get allomancy and metallic art things a lot of the time, and it's very hard to determine what color Nigrosil is, for example. But
I think all of them are kind of whitish, chromish.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. So I don't think it really matters. I don't think, this is not telling you which bind point, is in the specific spots for a very specific ability. It's talking about sets. So this is actually less specific than perhaps we hoped in some respect for the bind points.
Yeah. So you don't think it's possible that you're like, it's just like, hey, this is a physical bind point. You can plop in an iron spike. You can put in a steel spike.
I definitely don't think
just
that. I think these are the possible physical bind points, and this is being a little more metaphorical. Like, Hemalurgy is too precise for you to just be able to put, like, allomantic steel in all of these. But maybe that's an interpretation. But I don't
think Brandon's. I also don't think Brandon wants to go into that much detail with Hemalurgy at that point, because there's a lot of corner. But if this is, with that in mind, if this is a Steel Inquisitor, though, we can kind of eliminate some of the bind points, because if it's an Inquisitor, it's mostly going to be allomantic and ferrochemical focused bind points, because we haven't seen an Inquisitor, I don't think, that has stolen human attributes.
That would probably warp things in ways they would not want. Also, this misses.
It's also probably more useful.
Yeah. Also, just, we already know that this is not a complete bind point list, because we know in one of Vin's ears, she got more bronze, right? So there's more bind points than these as well, right? So this isn't even a complete list.
It's just the list that's used on Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Yes. Which that might be, since Steel Inquisitors they're constructs, they're not entirely human anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, this might be, like, you have to put this spike here to twist the spirit web in a way to make a Steel Inquisitor.
Well,
and I do wonder if it's like the other thing you have to wonder is this, because this has more spikes than your standard Inquisitor would have.
Right. Yeah, you would never
So-
have this many spikes, right?
Unless,
Ever.
but the one
Unless your name
Inquisitor
is
we
Marsh.
know who had a like butt ton of spikes was Marsh. Yeah, so like this could be Marsh's. I could see them doing something like that, like being like, okay, this is Marsh's alignment or his set.
Well, even he
This has-
was in like the 20-ish.
Yeah, this has
ballpark.
more.
yeah.
And
There's
this
like
has,
46
40.
spikes on here.
Yeah.
Just counting
Yeah,
up real
there's
quick.
he
Wow.
does not have all of these spikes. Let's talk
That would
about a few
suck.
things. We didn't talk about this. A steel linchpin is recommended to avoid the potential deadly side effects of the bestowal of 4 or more spikes. That's a thing?
What's kind of interesting is right at 4 spikes is also when Harmony gets the ability to take over people and control them. So it's the
True.
same. It's the same threshold right there, which is kind of at least like
For a
they made
human,
that-
yeah.
for a
For a
human, yeah.
human.
Because Khandra he can also take over,
Yeah, with 2.
but with 2, but they're not.
It's also
human.
difficult as well, so
Mhm.
so that's interesting. We have never known what the linchpin spike was made out of. Ever. We have never known that. Ever.
Oh, okay.
That has
Hmm.
always been Raphoed. It has never been clear. And this says steel, but it also says recommended, so that doesn't seem like that's necessarily mandatory. But
Yeah,
that
because you can read this 2 ways, right? You can read it. You need to have a linchpin spike. We recommend using steel, or it can be we recommend this very specific spike that you put in there, and that's going to be the linchpin, and it's going to hold things together.
Like maybe like steal's physical allomantic powers. So maybe like using pewter holds things together.
I
So
think it's a
maybe
little more
that-
simple than this. I think the linchpin, remember, bound spikes together in a specific way, and I think steel just goes in the right bind point that will fit the other spikes together. I think that's the only thing. Maybe if you made a longer spike that was like a bronze spike and you made it long enough for something, maybe it could act as a linchpin spike. But I think steel, like I think it's that one that's like kind of in the neck there, that's a little longer on the table. I think it's that one.
Oh yeah, it has to be.
And I
'Cause
think,
I thought it,
Like here, right?
yeah,
And it's
it's behind the
down.
neck.
And
I always pictured the linchpin as like lower back, but I guess that could entirely
Yeah.
be me. Like,
well, yeah, because they
visualizing
did kind of have a shield around it, so that is a little weird. But
it is.
Yeah.
I think it is lower back, but like I think it's like diagonal. So I think you're on your front. One end might
It says
like
behind the
might like
shoulder
be up
blade.
here.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
does
it did
say
say behind.
It's up
shoulder blades?
high.
Or
Like
behind,
it,
not behind.
like it. I think it slants in though. So like on
Right.
one end it's higher, and on the other end it's low.
Sure.
There is also the fact that they are steel inquisitors.
Well, yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's
well,
the
that's purely
We
a
figured
matter
it
of
out.
that their eyes are steel, right? That's why they're called that.
is
No.
that why that they're called that?
Yeah, I
Because
think so.
one of the Inquisitor's Vin faces, it has 2 different metal eyes.
Does it?
Does it?
I
don't
remember.
that.
I
But-
would trust your
That.
judgment, but I think that it would need to be clearly either steel or pewter, right? Like by this
Yeah.
chart, but that's weird. Regardless,
Try to find.
most
Well-
Inquisitors we have seen have steel eyes, and they didn't even know that they had the other spikes, right? Normal people
Yeah.
would not know that. I think that's
Yeah.
But
usually why.
normal people didn't name the steel inquisitor. I'm assuming Rorschach named. And
I don't
he
think
also
that
named
matters.
Steel Ministry.
Yeah. I think it's
I
just
don't
a
know.
theme.
I don't know. I don't think that matters that
Maybe
much.
it's because they're steel inquisitors.
But regardless,
Later.
I think the steel linchpin is just that's the bind point. It's easiest if you just use a steel thing and not try and do weird crap. And to bind the spikes together. I think that's why it's steel, not any mystical reason. It's just more of a placement issue that one placement's easier. Another thing I would like to point out, which comes back to what you were saying, Matt, about the Lord Ruler and whether he has Hemalurgy. Subject of much
Oh, yeah.
debate as well, right?
And contradictory words of Brandon.
Yes, because the annotations do say that Hemalurgy was used to make his most impressive effects, right? That's what it says.
Mhm.
In
And they also say that Ruin was whispering in his mind.
yeah, right. Now, bracers, and so those were spiked in. It's not clear whether they were hemalurgically charged, but they were at least went into flesh, right? Right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What are on his arms, guys? Slots
Maybe
for
he-
spiritual and temporal things. Just want to point
Maybe
that out
he
there.
Stole Alendi's destiny.
Or, like,
He killed him with a spike. Now we know how Rashak killed Alendi.
yeah, I
Well,
mean,
so
well,
hold up.
he would never know this. He would literally not know how to do this.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah,
That's
no,
mostly a
it says
joke, but-
it says he didn't. Yeah, no, it says he didn't learn Homology until he held power.
There
and
would be
that's how
no
he
way that you
discovered.
figured this out.
Yeah.
Let
You
me
just have a piece of chromium on him as a pack.
That was very
you know,
convenient.
yeah.
Ruin's like, yo.
go around and stab people in the caravan for
Well,
no reason. Stab yourself.
I just want to point that out because with Nycra still stealing investiture, I still think one of the most impressive allomantic things we've ever seen is just Lord Ruler soothing. Like, it's insane. He does it when he's asleep. And it's this godlike, oppressive soothing around Krennic Shaw. It is ridiculous. And again,
Does he sleep?
Probably compounded.
oh, I guess maybe he
Oh
doesn't need to sleep.
no, hold up. You
You compound Farouk chemical powers. You don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't make unless he's compounding
Fair chemical
like,
investiture? Yeah, right.
No,
Yeah.
no, you're
allomantic.
absolutely right. No, it has to be a ferrochemical power.
And then this leads us to an insane rabbit hole of what do you store when you store ferrochemical investiture? And a variety of things, but I just find it interesting that those would be the bind points on the Lord Ruler's arms if he had Hemalurgy. This doesn't answer whether it does, but like those would be the bind points there. I just want to throw that out there. So with bind points, I mean, it is my interpretation, at least, that each of these bind points would grant a specific ability, and it's not that these are all interchangeable. I just don't like the idea that they're interchangeable, right?
Agreed.
Like,
That seems terrible to me.
I know.
Yeah.
So I think that they're just using these 4 colors just to try and, like, give us a feel for where those blind points are. Does that supposition
help with visualization?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a aid.
Yeah. So
I also don't want an exact plan to make a Steel Inquisitor on the internet.
Yeah.
Where
that's actually a good point. Yeah, that's
Like it really is.
That's
People are weird.
true.
There's also the fact that there are, so looking at the physical quadrant, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 12 possible locations for spikes and only 4 metals.
Yeah.
And so
Oh, that's true.
the only way to make all of this symmetric, if you were to make gonna try to make this symmetric, is to have, because you have 1, 2, we have 16, right?
For which?
Yeah, you have
16.
16. Yeah.
16 what? Sorry.
16 physical, like oh no, I'm counting the wrong thing. Never mind. I was looking at the mental. There are 16 bronze colored spikes on the picture.
16?
I'm
12,
only
dude.
counting 8.
There's 12.
I see 4. No.
Oh no, there's 12. You're right. It's 12. Okay. Yeah, it's 12. But
Counting
still.
is hard. We have degrees. Hey.
Well,
Not in counting though.
not in counting. No, that's Brandon's
Derek.
mother.
We're not accountants. Yeah, right.
But yeah, so if you were to make that symmetric, okay,
Yeah.
if you wanted to, you would need to have each one of the 4 mental metals be, so like you would have to go in order, right? So you could do something like zinc is here, and then you have brass, copper, bronze, zinc, brass, copper, bronze, and then down on the hips
Oh,
You only have 2. No,
Why?
you have 4.
Wait.
No, you have 4, but they don't follow the same. I'm
yeah.
saying if you were trying to label them exactly,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
you don't end up with this neat
Right.
looking symmetrical composition.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you do, because like my understanding is that the Inquisitors, like, for example, would have spikes for each power that they've taken, right? Because they're using mistings.
Right.
So you would have multiple zinc spikes
It's not
if you were
zinc,
giving
not
them
zinc,
multiple
brass spikes.
Oh, no, brass is for chemical.
Yeah, well, zinc is steel's emotional fortitude, so it's definitely
Okay, so it would be
bronze spikes.
yeah, sorry.
bronze. There we go. Multiple bronze.
Whatever it is,
I
not
hate
zinc.
Hemalurgy.
Yeah, not zinc. Okay, so yeah, multiple bronze spikes, multiple steel spikes. Because those, like the Inquisitors, most of their spikes are granting allomantic abilities. So like they would be, however many powers they have, because we know the Inquisitors didn't all have the same power set.
And also, there's just the idea that bind points are not unique,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
clearly you can, like, if you needed an Inquisitor that needed 2 bronze spikes to grant 2 doses of allomantic bronze, right? For seeking and piercing copper clouds, you could do that.
Indeed.
There's more bind points here than there are abilities, right? Sorry, powers. Sorry. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
And it might be as simple as you didn't want to color like each spike location with the color of the actual spike that goes into it, because a lot of metals look the same.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah.
And whereas
yeah.
this is very clear that 4 different colors.
Right. Yeah, right. It is interesting that the placement isn't unique, but I suppose that's not immensely surprising. Because this table also says there's
hundreds of bind points.
Right.
There had to be duplication.
So I found that with the different eye spikes, I was wrong. This is Well of Ascension, chapter 12, and it says spikes like the ones in the ones in Inquisitor eyes, massive heavy things like the spikes one might pound into the ground with a very large mallet. Some are tipped with blood, though I don't think I'll handle those. These other ones, yes, they look indistinguishable from the ones in Marsh's eyes. Yet some are of different metals.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that
So they're
doesn't
not
mean,
actually in.
Right.
Yeah. And
I
so
can
at
see
some
how,
point
yeah.
I read that, and it's been in my head for 10 years.
We could do with all
just
an
me
Era
being
1
wrong.
reread, I think, at some point. Because I haven't done that in a long time. Oh, Argent died. Well, we'll go to this frame until he comes back. We had some words of Brandon from the Skyward Tour words of Brandon, and the first thing that we had was that Brandon was saying that the placement in the recipient mattered, not the donor. Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah, we got to talk about this. This is important. Which I don't like.
No.
And so then we had this question from Idaho Falls, and it goes like this. Questioner, my question was about Hemalurgy. There was a disagreement on the last Shardcast. Yeah. Where we argued about that one. When spiking a Mistborn to charge a Hemalurgic spike, does it matter how the Mistborn is killed or what power is stolen based only on the metal? Brandon, so you want to place the spike in a specific place. Questioner, in the donor? In the recipient, not the donor. Brandon, in the recipient. And you want to use the specific metal, and so basically if you aren't precise about how you spike, you risk taking the wrong thing within the same family. Some of those, that's not as big a deal, but for some it is kind of a big deal. And so you want to be very precise. You'll get something, but if you're not placing the spike in the right place and going into the right place, then you risk it. Questioner, you risk stealing the wrong thing. Brandon, yeah. Now, if you're going off someone who's not a Mistborn, you can be a little more flexible. But you still have the danger that you're not going to end up stealing the power. You're going to steal something else. So precision is advisable. How about that? Questioner. Yeah, because the question was kind of specifically about, like, we know that Atium spikes can steal pretty much any power. Brandon. Yes. You want to be super precise with your Atium spike. Questioner. So part of the question was like exactly if you just killed a Mistborn, you stab a Mistborn in the heart with an Atium spike, and you're not placing it immediately. Brandon, what do you end up with? You're rolling the dice, let's say. Not as big a roll of the dice as you might think, but you still are. And then there was another one, presumably by the same questioner, that said, and then you place the spike in the recipient. If you tore that spike out again and put it in someone else, you're not going to be able to get more than one power out of it. Brandon, no. No, and if you place the spike in the wrong place, then you're going to end up with interference and things like this, where the spike might just not work the way you want it to. Taking a spike and putting it in the wrong place in someone is not going to make them have a different power, in other words.
I think Brandon heard recipient early on in the question, and in his head thought donor. Because technically the donor also receives the spike.
I don't think that's the case, just because there was earlier in the tour, which we talked about on the show, which someone asked, does the placement matter in the donor or the recipient? And Brandon's like, recipient, not the donor. Like, he knew what that meant, right? And this is corroborating that, right?
I mean, it could be. But also, as you were reading all of this,
yes,
I was listening to it from the perspective of, well, what if Brandon thought the other way? And it all makes sense. It matters where you stab the source of the power. And if you stab him in the heart, you can take anything, so it's a dice roll. And it also matters where you stab the target, the receiver of the power, because obviously it does, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that the questioner uses both the words donor and recipient, that Brandon would have realized what they were asking about.
Yeah.
And like corrected himself if he had made a misperception.
Correct.
It's also a signing where Brandon can get distracted.
Well, yes, but like, again, two different signings says the same thing, says that the recipient matters. Like,
yeah.
And we know the recipient matters, right? Like
100%.
The debate is whether or not the donor matters.
But
I just think Brandon's not going to confuse recipient as the person being stabbed.
I don't think. Yeah, I agree.
But Brandon saying recipient matters doesn't mean is that this is not Brandon saying donor doesn't matter.
I'll give you that. Something else that popped into my head while you were reading this was that when it's talking about that if you're going off of someone who's not a Mistborn, you can be a little more flexible.
Yeah.
But you still have the danger that you're not going to end up stealing the power. You're going to steal something else. Now, if you're a Misting and you're using the metal for their elemental power, what else are you going to get if you're not getting their Misting ability?
Huh.
I mean,
that's a good point. That's a very good point.
Just the fact that there are so many bind points in the human body, you might just end up with like their ability to smell cinnamon.
But
if you're using a spike that only steals out like physical allomantic abilities, you're not going to get their ability to.
It only
smell
steals
cinnamon.
physical elementic abilities in this context.
Uh,
Maybe you
what?
can use a steel spike in a bind point that is not in this chart to steal something that is not in this chart.
Well, I think that broadens Hemalurgy way too much, because the whole
Yeah.
point is that different metals steal different things. If every metal can steal multiple things, then what's the point of this like classification even, right? Like
Brandon would have brought that up at some point. Like he would have been like, "Oh, by the way, like this is just a specific use for steel." Like we've talked about the stealing abilities long enough that I feel like he likes to drop things like that when it can be more broad. You know, this is like one of those situations where people ask about like god metal allies. I'll be like, "Yeah, there's more you can do, but I'm not going to talk about it." And he's never really hinted that these can do anything but what they say they can do.
Going off with what you said, Evgeni, I would just like to reread the word of Brandon we got from the Skyward pre-release AMA, not a signing, in text.
Fair.
Mithril Nova, does the positioning of a hemalurgic spike matter on the donor, the recipient, or both? Brandon, recipient.
Okay.
That is nonsense to me.
I know.
Doesn't
That's
make
why we got into a disagreement on that podcast. And that's why the questioner is asking this. Yes, I'm aware.
For me, it doesn't bother me that it doesn't matter on the donor, really, because like everything we've learned about bind points has been bind points on the recipient. Have we seen somewhere where it indicates that the donor matters?
It's more a logical thing,
Right.
because if it only gets determined when you spike it into someone, like if you spike a Mistborn and don't immediately spike someone, what is in the spike?
Right.
Yeah.
And more importantly, what is Brandon talking about with the precision aspect? Like, I get with the Atium, yes, you want it. Like, if you're stabbing a Mistborn with an Atium spike through the heart, what do you get?
Yeah,
I'm
what
just
if you
like
just
floating
want
around.
bronze?
Maybe that's why you need to refine ATM specifically, quote unquote, refine. Like maybe that's why a process is needed with ATM before you use it.
So there is a old word of Brennan that seems to contradict this from the Words of Radiance Omaha signing.
Yes, let's read it.
And Brennan starts off, so since I was doing other things, Hemalurgy, when you spike, you place a spike in a place that determines what charge the spike gets. Kythus then asks, through the spike, to the heart seems to pick up universally. Brandon, it depends on where in the heart. It's like acupuncture. This was designed from acupuncture, and you get very specific on which nerve you're hitting and things like that. Kythus, so the spike will never pick up more than one power. Brandon, well, the way they know how to do it.
Great. Well, I mean, we clearly Lerasium allows you to grab more, right? Whatever powers versus abilities mean, Lerasium picks up more than a single thing, right?
Yeah,
In any interpretation.
Yes, but it picks all those things as one unit.
You're right. Yeah,
it's not like
Yep.
So, like, as far as Lerasium is concerned, that's all one thing.
Yeah, but yeah. I guess my concern is not even with Atium Matt, right?
Well, and Kythus, I think, in that question was talking about steel, like how steel steals for potentially different.
Well, right, and so like if you're stabbing a Mistborn in the heart with steel, what is in the spike before you put it in the recipient?
I guess like it could be like all four physical powers in like a recessive sense, and then which one actualizes is like based on the bind point.
Well, right, but so that means and we kind of talked about this when we recorded yesterday, but we cut this. So me, Evgeni, and Ian are a little we like talked about this for like 15 minutes already.
It was more like 10.
It was more like 10. But this idea that when you stab a spike into a Mistborn, it's one of 4 things. If you place it in a bind point, then it is a specific thing.
Yeah.
This the word of Brandon, the long one, you can't remove a spike and get a different power then. So, like, once it is in the recipient, it is that one. So the weird thing is that if I spike that Mistborn, which of the 4 powers is it? It's all of them until you spike it in the recipient and then the spike's locked in?
I think so. Like, I think that works, and it works with the concept of Hemalurgy breaking things down in pieces. So, like, when it goes through, you're taking a full Mistborn, and instead of 16 powers, you're getting 4. And then when you jab it into the recipient, they're getting 1. So, right, like, you're getting that through line of loss overall.
So, another way to phrase that. So I have 2 ideas how this might work in this context. One of them plays with your idea, Matt. The other one doesn't. Maybe, let's say a steel hemalurgic spike. It steals any and all physical. Was it physical elementic?
Yeah, physical elementic.
Physical elementic powers as a unit. Okay, you're not stealing an individual power. You're stealing physical elementicness.
Okay.
If your donor is a misting that only has one of these things, great, you take that. If it's a Mistborn, you take all of it.
Okay.
Because you're taking the entire physical elementicness. But when you are shoving the spike into the recipient, you can't donate physical elementicness. You have to choose which power to grant.
Okay.
And that choice is in which bind point you are putting this in.
Okay.
And so you've selected the power, you give that power to the recipient, the rest is lost.
Yeah.
It can't adhere to the new spirit web, so it just disperses.
Yeah, it's not attached.
Okay.
Either it disperses, or, and I need to reread the WAB, or just kind of hangs there, not being active.
It might be like a keyed thing, like it's keyed to allomantic steel, and then once it's been keyed that way, maybe it can't be.
I would not hate if that is how this is supposed to work. I don't hate this with the fiber of my soul. Cool.
Agreed.
That is not the dumbest thing ever.
Sorry, Evgeni, continue.
Congratulations.
You had a second.
Yes.
You had a second.
Yeah. I'm going. Well, so the second idea. What was the second idea?
The one that doesn't go off, Matt.
Yeah. I don't know. I like this idea better.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
One of the metaphors I had from yesterday was like quantum superposition.
Yes, right.
So it's like there's the potential for all 4, and when you actually step it into someone, like
it's collapse. It collapses.
It
collapses the wave function.
Yep. I mean, it is super weird, but like, yeah, okay, it does fit with how Ruin would do things. I don't hate that.
Yeah. It'd be very interesting for someone to ask Brandon that if you were to spike a Mistborn and they were to survive, would they be able to use 3 of those abilities or none of those abilities?
Yeah, that's really the key question, right? Like, yeah.
And that's when he might answer that.
Because I think I'm betting hard on them losing 04.
Yeah, like that. But what happens when you put an Atium spike in a Mistborn then? Lose all of them?
But maybe that's why Atium
is really good in Ruin's magic system.
Or needs to be properly prepared too. But yeah, no, it could be they lose everything.
Oh yeah, that's So refined might just not be the metallurgic refinement. It might be you need to do something to Atium so it doesn't just. Maybe if you don't refine it, it doesn't do anything because it would just do everything. And so you need to do something. Maybe you need to put in a little bit of steel in the metal.
Yeah.
So that it knows that this is what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I
See,
guess
for
then
me,
just use steel.
Yeah. Well,
I don't like the idea of alloying atium with anything, because I think then it's like a different but I think then it's like it's a different metal. Like, I do think there's probably some form of preparation, but
I just don't know what that could mean.
I guess that the preparation is something other than mixing another metal in.
Sure, fine.
Yeah.
But
I
no,
take
the other
your-
wob, that's the follow-up. So if we go with this interpretation where you're stealing the elementic physicalness or physical elementicness, whatever.
Yep.
The second question seems to address exactly that.
No.
And then you place the spike on the recipient. If you tore that out again and put it in someone else, you're not going to be able to get more than 1 power. And Brandon says no. And if you place the spike in the wrong place, which I interpret to be in a different, usually compatible bind point. Well, different. So let's say I stab somebody in the eye. Okay, that's a physical bind point. And then, so originally I stole elementic physicalness, stab somebody, decided, hey, you're going to get steel.
Right, elementic steel.
Take the spy out. Now spike a second recipient in a different place.
Right, okay. Yep, I'm with you.
And I'm trying to give that person iron, for example. Yeah. This is the context of the question.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Brandon is saying no, and if you place the spike in the wrong place, so the iron place,
okay, sure,
then you're going to end up with interference and things like that, where the spike might just not work
the way you want it to, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Taking a spike and putting it in the wrong place in someone is not going to make them have a different power.
So it might result in something else, though, which is interesting.
I think that starts to get into where you get constructs, like twisting spirit web in ways it is not supposed to be twisted.
Maybe you're putting a steel charge in the iron bind point.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Maybe. And that section of the spirit web where normally it would work with iron, you're now giving it a steel shaped thing. And you get chimera side effects.
I do love, just an observation, how this chart in true Brandon fashion has definitely provided us with more questions than answers.
Yep.
Might steal destiny. Let's go.
Like I definitely feel like I understand Hemalurgy less than I did before.
Look, you know what? I'm just happy that you know what I'm happy about? I'm just happy that gold spikes steal ferrochemical gold. I have never been happier for a retcon, because that was stupid that Pewter did that. It was dumb the entire time. This makes so much more sense.
Well, and that's been bugging me since the AMA he did after Hero of Ages, because I asked that question, but I asked it late. So he never actually answered it. Like,
that's right. Yeah, there were a bunch that didn't get answered. Oh, that's right.
And so, like, it's just been this thing, and then there's been these kind of half wobs here and there, and so, like, having a clear message on that.
Later.
Yeah.
David, what do you think? Because I remember once I got this word of Brandon on the donor, the recipient, or both, I actually looked on the copper mine, because I don't know about you, my impression was always that donor placement mattered too, and it wasn't just always the heart, right? Now this,
like, my always impression was literally the wob that Weary linked, which was you put in the heart if it's just got 1 power, and if you're trying to steal a specific power from someone who has more than 1 power, you got to get real specific with where in the heart. And
with
that was
where in the heart. Okay.
Yes, like you got to get it through the aorta or left ventricle if you want to get iron, but
I'd accept that interpretation as well.
That's how I thought it worked, and now I'm much less certain because of
that's true. Do we think that there are donor bind points that are not the heart? Theoretically, with any god metal, let's say.
Does
sure
the soldier Is the soldier who
Heart.
creates spooks? Okay,
Yeah,
that's through
that's
the heart.
heart.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
The other one, who else gets spiked? Penrod gets
Yeah.
spiked, but we don't see that on screen, do we?
We don't see the donor,
It goes into his heart, but yeah.
but he's the recipient. He's not the. He's
Yeah,
not the
right,
donor.
right,
We
right.
saw
Yeah.
Marsh charge the spike.
That's
Yeah,
true.
we
We
gotta-
did that
a scene from Mark's
rando.
POV.
That noble
random-
man.
Yeah,
or whatever.
that was through the heart, though.
I think it
I'm pretty
was.
sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think, to answer
what if-
your question, Eric, theoretically, yes, as long as it's part of the circulatory system.
Oh, right. Yeah, we
Mhm.
haven't even talked about the relationship of blood and hemalurgy. Oh, my God. That's a can of worms, too.
Yeah, blood is important.
And the blood being in motion is important.
Yeah. No, what's the most messed up though? Thinking about this is that you come back to the Vin and her sister example.
Yeah.
And we know her sister was killed messily, but I just like the little earring being stabbed through
Oh,
baby's
yeah.
heart.
Yeah,
is
not-
just.
Ugh.
You're
Yeah.
welcome, viewer, for that wonderful
welcome.
mental image. I mean,
Thank Brandon, because
I mean,
she
that's-
must have
Oh, it
gone-
was his idea. Yeah.
yeah,
she must have gone digging.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, it was messy. That's what Brandon says. We'll leave it at that. But thinking about this makes me understand how messy. Ugh.
I speaking of blood in motion, that's actually a really interesting point, and so Lady Lameness thought about this for way too long because she works as a medical admin dealing with blood. And so she knew lab techs and asked them how, because there was a word of Brandon that said, "Oh, you could keep spikes in blood if that blood was still viable." And
Okay,
Yes,
that was
that's
actually mine.
Oh.
yeah,
it
that's
was
right.
like-
That's right.
The gist of it was like, as long as they're in a body, they don't degrade. What if that body is a corpse? How
Right.
long is it still protected?
Well,
And it was as long as the blood would be viable if transferred to a living person.
Probably not long.
the answer is not long. Basically, cells break down pretty fast. And I don't know how much Brandon knows about blood. There's kind of a whole point on the Inquisitors putting spikes in blood. They don't have refrigeration.
Yeah.
Well,
That
They
yeah,
can
but the
have
blood
cold
clots, right? So
yes. I've always assumed they also add something else there
Yeah,
to keep it
yeah,
from
that- yeah.
coagulating.
They
but
could bring some ice blocks down from the Terrace Mountains and have a nice little fridge.
she said that about potentially storing hemalurgic spikes in a corpse. I would estimate that you have comfortably 4 to 8 hours to a maximum of 12 hours, though you would be really pushing it, before the blood is no longer viable to store hemalurgic spikes. Because things, the blood,
So unless they're-
settles to the bottom and stuff.
Yeah.
So unless they're freezing it, which they don't
Yeah.
have.
But even if they have anticoagulants or something for the Inquisitors storing the blood, like, that's not gonna last very long, really.
No.
Well, they're Inquisitors though, so honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they had like a fresh bucket of blood every day.
Well,
Anything
that's
like
true.
that. They are not very nice people.
That's true.
They-
You could just filter every couple hours.
Yeah. That just seems
Yeah,
like a
they
lot of
just-
busy work for Inquisitors who are
I'm sure
kind
they
of
have
rare.
bored interns. You know,
Would it still coagulate if you keep the blood in motion? Like if you are stirring the pot?
isn't it in reaction with oxygen that starts
Yeah.
to make it clot? Or am I like, is that just me making up things that I'm forgetting from high school?
Oh,
bio?
no.
So I know in the body it is because there are special types of cells that go in there and like bind to things, to blood cells to hold them together.
Platelets.
So what Lady Lameness
That's-
said...
Oh no, that's scar tissue, isn't it?
Yeah. Cells will also begin to break down immediately after death as body stops taking in oxygen and the blood stops distributing oxygen, which leads to an increase in carbon dioxide, causing autolysis or self-induced cell death. Hydrogen sulfide is produced in the abdomen, will react with hemoglobin, and to form sulfhemoglobin, leading to green hues seen beneath the skin of corpses.
This is our most morbid Shardcast so far.
Yeah. Hey,
No,
it's
hold
the
up, I need
Hemalurgy
to-
cast. It's gonna be
I'm
yes,
sad.
this is the episode to be talking about it.
the Cosmere's most gruesome magic system.
See, I wish
That
she
we
was
know
here
of.
to talk about this. We are not biologists. None of us are. That is not our area of expertise. But yeah, in other words, it doesn't last long with the blood.
Yeah.
I don't know how much we can.
I will
dig into
say that Wob, though, he is saying he doesn't want to put a specific time on it, but he's saying like you would get at least until the
it's
blood
viable.
becomes unviable. So like he gives himself some wiggle room that it could extend beyond when the blood is viable,
Correct.
but that's like the sure thing.
Yeah.
He's not guaranteeing it. That's the expiry date.
Yeah.
But you could maybe still use it. after.
Needless to say, typically research does not involve taking blood out of corpses and seeing if that would be viable in humans. So Lady Lameness had some interesting. It's like, how do I phrase this?
To make it not make it seem like I have a dead body.
It's usually you
so
take it out of a living host.
I looked it up real quick, and blood will in fact still coagulate if it is in motion.
Okay, great, cool, awesome.
Oh.
But the relationship with hemalurgy and blood has always been weird to me. It's kind of like another weird thing in the Cosmere is like, how's color important? It is because reasons, and like
I was just thinking
with
that.
the hemalurgy and blood, it's just important because reasons, right?
And I guess each of the metallic arts do have kind of like a bodily connection. Like for elementic metals, you ingest them. I guess you can get them other ways, but you know you're in taking them into your body. Furukami requires that skin touch, like the skin connection.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
that's true. Yeah,
requires blood specifically.
That's good. Okay, I'm a little more satisfied.
No, I think that's a stretch. Because like you're not gonna use material that's on the other side of the planet for fuel. It needs to be either touching you or be inside of you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
But like you
Like,
know, it's
that's
different
not
than
crazy.
Stormlight though, which you can draw in from like across a realm. You know, it has to have at least some physical contact.
But even Stormlight has a physical component. It's a gas. You breathe it in.
But
I
you
think
don't
Matt's made a
breathe it
fine
in.
point. Like
You don't breathe it in like a gas. Like it's not like in a cloud around you. Like the sphere can be like over there, and you can like
Suck it in.
in, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a little.
But at least
Like I
in
think
the
they're just
beginning, that's
using breathing as terminology. Like I think it's a little different than.
there are specific mentions to sharp intakes of breath
Yeah.
as they take the Stormlight in.
but they don't have to breathe to take in Stormlight either.
But I think the mechanics are function anyway. This is
But
I
yeah,
think
let's get back into hemalurgy. David, I know you have not a different sort of issue with the hemalurgy chart.
I don't
It's
think
not
it's very
pretty.
pretty. Yeah, like it's I like look at the ones behind Eric. You can see framing his head. Like I think they're just a little more dynamic and more interesting to look at. And I kind of thought stylistically it'd be more similar. And I kind of thought that I don't know. It just kind like I opened up and I was like, oh, this is kind of bland. Like I thought there'd be symbols. So I don't know. Like I just kind of thought there'd
No
be more
symbols
of a
is little
connection
bummer,
with the
for
other
sure.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all wanted symbols.
Yeah. But we do have some words of Brandon that Isaac is working on a final version that will be the art print, and you will see it on my wall eventually, someday when that comes out. But
And that's why there isn't a digital version,
right,
like a nice digital version of it. It's all
yeah.
just pictures
My
that have been
my
posted.
Sincerest apologies, viewers, because I'm not a photographer. Also, it's hard to get a nice print of a thing that's spread across 2 pages. So, sue me. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that it can't look like the other ones because it's showing the bind points, right?
Yeah.
I always just kind of thought that'd be like an offset thing. Like there'd be like a section like, oh look, there's the bind points, and then here's
Like,
a regular
here's
table.
here's a human body, and then you have
Yeah.
like arrows
Mhm.
essentially.
Or along the
Yeah.
bottom. It's just like not how I envisioned it, which is fine because like
Mhm.
I'm not the one who made it, and I'm not the one that's to be happy about it. But
I think it would be hard to have like a circle thing with like also the bind points and have it have enough detail and stuff. I don't know. It's hard.
What could be, I guess, if you spaced it out a bit, like you could not have a composed body in the design. Like you could have like an arm off to one side showing the bind points in the arm, like a leg off to one. Like I think it's really cool that the body is together, but you might have been able to free up more space in the middle by doing that. But
we're not designers. I think
we're not designers.
I think
True.
the key thing to me is that it doesn't look as bloody as I would hope. I'm just saying.
That is true.
Hemalurgy is
use a
bloody.
pop
I would
color.
expect some splashes of blood on an Inquisitor table.
And a little bit of the red color, actually, that would be pretty striking on the
Yeah,
green
it's
stone,
just
too.
very
Like,
great.
that would,
And the lack of symbols, I think, is probably the other thing. Like, if there were new symbols to kind of, like, spice up the boxes, because the boxes are just kind of there,
yeah. Yeah, and my conspiracy theory was always that the hemalurgic symbols would be the symbols that we saw in Bands of War that the Southerners use that no one knows what they look like, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be so cool, and I'm like, oh, there's no symbols.
Yeah.
All right.
There could purely just be, like, time issues with how they created it, and, like,
yeah.
Isaac does
And,
not
like-
have infinite time to create another,
Oh, yeah.
like, an entire Southern Scadrian script when they don't know how, like, exactly Southern stuff will go in, like, Era 3, right?
Oh yeah. And like, to be clear, I could not have done a better job than Isaac.
Well,
but,
yeah, I
it's
mean,
just like that.
I just want some more blood on there. That's
What
what
I
I
do love about it,
Yeah.
because you're all negative Nancy's,
Yep.
is that this is essentially an in-world artifact. This is a hemalurgic.
Oh,
table. This
crap! You're right! We gotta talk
is
about
the
that.
scene. The
It's a
scene
literal-
where they go look for Marsh and they find the chamber where they make Inquisitors, and there's a table with like an indentation in it. It's a stone table
Yep.
with an
Mhm.
indentation
Yeah.
and like straps. on.
Exactly.
And like that's where they put the recipient.
Yep.
That's what that table is.
That's exactly what that's supposed to,
Oh,
echo,
for sure.
right?
Mhm.
And-
So it is a table.
Hey.
I didn't even think about that. That's amazing.
Yeah, so got me there.
Oh, that was good. Matt, what's up?
No, I was just wondering, like, I don't think they are, but like the original books, like the chapter titles, they have different versions of the steel alphabet.
Yeah, they
And
do.
Yes.
But the Furukami table wasn't
Nope.
one of the, like,
Nope.
the well
No.
ascension. Okay.
Nope.
Yeah.
It,
That's
Yeah,
all.
it was an
Almagic
offshoot,
symbols.
but it was
Yeah.
not any of the ones we saw.
Yeah.
Must have been a distant offshoot, though. I always think. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's-
they're quite.
not
They're-
like anything like the Elemency symbols.
The
Even
Terrace
the
alphabet and the modern steel alphabet both descend from the one we saw in Hero of Ages.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
The
the
very
really old one,
archaic,
Yeah, but I was-
symbol.
I just didn't see like any parallels there for the most part either.
Well,
like, it didn't look.
if,
It didn't.
if you look closely, they're kind
Maybe.
of ours.
Okay, maybe I should have looked.
We should talk about who wrote the table. Let's go. We completely neglected this fact.
The
The
set.
ruler.
The set.
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
I would like to point out that the Lord Mistborn made a book of Hemalurgy and gave it to Wax. Just want to put
Yeah.
that out there as well. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
I
Kelsey are
don't-
helping him.
If we talk about who it's not,
Who's it not?
Like, I don't think it's Zed.
Well, no.
Like, yeah,
No.
because he did leave that all the knowledge he had in those books, right? But
And excluded.
did-
But
Hemalurgy.
instead, he did not leave anything about.
yeah, exactly.
Also,
And
he would know what
what
Chromium
destiny
is.
is. Yeah,
Might
yeah,
be destiny. Have fun, guys.
yeah.
Yeah, although That has always confused me though, because the epigraphs are the words of founding, and the epigraphs do talk about hemalurgy. So I'm always
Yes.
like, are there two? Is there like an expunged version where everyone's
I
like,
think
oh, this
it
is
must
the
be.
fun
Yeah,
stuff?
I guess.
But
Yeah.
like that's unrelated. But yeah.
And so with what it's not the exact Era 1 interpretation, because this has god metals offset with cadmium and bendalloy. So
Mhm.
it is clearly someone with a lot of knowledge of Steel Inquisitors. It's maybe what it is, it's Spook with Kelsier getting Marsh's help, because Marsh would probably know, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Marsh would absolutely know. He
Yeah.
could look.
Or-
Which
Yeah,
spikes do I have?
All right, I got at least half of these vine points done. Great, cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there is word of friend in that this is not Chris.
Oh,
It
okay,
is
cool.
not Chris.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
I definitely like. I mean, assuming it is not somebody random
Well, that's
who
true.
just randomly knows a lot of stuff, right? I like the trio of Spook, Kelsier, and Marsh in some combination.
Yeah,
of
that seems
Mhm.
most right. It's just so.
these. Kelsier does seem a very likely candidate, considering Secret History, considering his presence in Era 2. Considering that Hemalurgy is something he has been learning about and knows a lot about. And along that line of thinking, Marsh is also a good candidate for that.
Can I offer an
One-
alternate?
Yeah, please.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah,
Evgeni,
yeah,
were you
yeah,
not done?
Go ahead
You
with
finish.
yours, and I have something else I want to
Okay,
add, but
okay.
it's
So two others I was
That
just
is
thinking
related.
of. There are maybe more dark horses, but one who we know knows a lot about Hemalurgy is Palm in Era 2.
True.
Mhm.
I just
Or the world hopping Khandra that we don't know about, but might have reason to, if you're world hopping, you kind of have reasons to explain.
we also
metallic
know.
arts.
I
don't
mean,
know.
there's also kind of a vague word of Brandon that is that Hemalurgy's being performed off world. So like there could
Yeah.
be people involved with that, whatever context that is. Like, there's a lot of possibilities and what that
Yeah.
means, right?
And that would just fit the trend of like lots of the other documents like Chris or Naz is producing come from world
World
hoppers
hoppers.
who are studying, right? So
Right.
That's a good point. That is a good point. The one thing I wanted to bring up is that I think all of the three tables label the god metals as god metals,
They do. Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
which I think is significant in the way that it suggests to me same source or similar source.
I feel like
Like,
god
well,
metal is
or-
a general term though. Like Chris uses it in her essays, so
Yeah.
I feel like that'd be a more common term than we think it might be. We know it's not Chris.
But it might indicate though like a extra Scadrian person or someone who's been off Scadrial.
with some
'Cause it is
Cosmere
a-
awareness, right?
Yeah.
Like analyzing things. I mean,
Yeah.
It also suggests knowledge more advanced. So one of the reasons I don't think it's, for example, some obligator in the
Yeah,
year
right.
607 is one, because vast amounts of knowledge. Two, knowledge that seems to be coming in the gap between Era 1 and Era 2.
Yeah.
And three, because the god metals are identified as being outside of the 16.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mhm.
And
I think that's the main one because we know that Inquisitor thought that ADM was temporal.
yes.
Like that's
Right.
so
If we're thinking that these are similar sources, I just want to point out on the Ferrochemy table that in the kind of blurb about Ferrochemy, the Ferrochemy table is kind of weird, and that has a blurb about it. The Allomancy table doesn't have anything like that. The Hemalurgy has lots of random blurbs of like steel, linchpin, and this, right? With bind points. But just to point out that the Ferrochemy table says that the spiritual powers are under heavy experimentation by the Terrace community and aren't spoken of to outsiders. So that
someone who's not
suggests
Terrace.
someone's
An
not
outsider.
Terrace who's an outsider and is studying this, but it also seems to be like not like Beyond Era 2, right?
Yeah.
Well, Are we making the assumption that all three were made by the same person, or not necessarily?
I think the suggestion is of similar origin. Like, maybe not exactly the same person, but maybe multiple people working together, perhaps.
Or the same organization or something.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
Like, to me, the Furukumi one, like that blurb you just read, sounds like Chris's voice to me, like how she writes.
I don't know if we have any words of Brandon about that.
But
I don't think so.
But that doesn't mean it is her, because like it's also Brandon writing all of this stuff.
And it
so
also
be a
could just be
character
other
that's
people from
similar.
Silverlight, right? Like, there's
Yeah.
universities
Yeah.
there. People would be studying it. The metallic arts are very powerful, and it's easier, presumably easier to get to Scadrial now than Final Empire time.
Yeah.
But the other interesting thing is that none of these tables had Harmony's medal on it, right? Which shows that they don't have too advanced of a knowledge, because they're still thinking, in some respects, like, oh yeah, these legendary medals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which begs the question how they learned anything about Lerasium, which is insane to me, but...
Yeah.
Which is like... So the Lord Ruler probably knew these things, right? But how much would he have blabbed about it? How much would he have blabbed about it to Inquisitors? I don't think a lot. Like, he kept compounding from the Inquisitors, right?
I guess, have we talked about the possibility that this is the Lord Ruler's personal chart, or something that he produced?
I don't think he would
I
create
don't
such a
think
thing.
he would produce something like this. Like, he would keep it within his mind or his common mind.
Yeah.
But he's someone who would have the knowledge.
Yes.
We can agree to create.
He would probably be more certain about chromium then.
Yeah.
Like, he wouldn't necessarily use the Cosmere term fortune, but he wouldn't be uncertain about what it did.
Also,
although
a line
he
like...
only had the like wider understanding for a short time, so that like he's kind of thinking back, right, and being like, I think it's something like this, but I don't know. That's just something
maybe.
He wouldn't. I don't think he would put a comment like, there are hundreds of Hemalurgy.
I mean,
buddy. The chart concerns itself with the making of Steel Inquisitors.
Marsh, come to my Hemalurgy class, and I'm going to lecture about this. And I'm on the blackboard, and I drew the vine points down, and this is what Marsh remembered, and that's how we learned it later. And this Steel's might be destiny. I'm just here just to mess with you, Marsh. That's what Rashek did. That's Secret History 6.
Yeah, Rashek's Hemalurgy 101 class.
It is his famous sense of humor that Rashek clearly had.
Well known in the Cosmere.
Yes, well known.
But a joker.
Comedian. No, the feeling I'm getting from this particular one, not so much the others, but this particular one, is that this is somebody studying these magic systems, these invested arts from the outside, but they're a person who is knowledgeable and they have access to a lot. So, like, a Chris-like person.
Yeah,
Chris-like
person.
Which is why it does confuse. They said it's not Chris. It's not like if they hadn't said that, I'd be like, this is Chris writing this.
Yeah, that's true. That is super true.
So, and we don't have a word about the other two tables, right? Like, those could be Chris.
So.
I don't think so.
One thing, like, I could also see Chris being like, I want to learn about all these magic systems, but is it possible that Chris is like, I don't want to study Hemalurgy, like, because I don't think it's a good... Or do we think Chris is so, like, devoted to finding all the knowledge that she would study it anyway?
I think she would.
There's a comment in the Alley of Law.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Arcanum, where she's like,
it's of
all of these, Hemalurgy has some wide-reaching ramifications.
Yeah, she knows of it and stuff.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to point out that the Era 2 books do not have, like, a wheel, like on these two, right? Like, it doesn't have, like, the Allomancy wheel that's in the Era 1 books.
Oh, does it not? I haven't.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, the Ars Arcanum.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. The Ars Arcanum. Thank you. We've been recording this for a while. Any other thoughts on who wrote the table? Yeah. And any other thoughts on who wrote the table? I don't think we can get too much more, maybe?
No.
Someone who killed at least 4 people.
That said, I definitely want to see someone mock up a fake textbook that's Rashek's Hemalurgy 101 with, like, and just see what that's like. Rorschach's friendly introduction to Hemalurgy. I have a textbook that's a friendly introduction to analysis, and it's like, oh man, when friendly's in the title, you know it's gonna be rough. Like, you know it's gonna be real rough. Any final thoughts, guys?
There is one word of Brandon that says that in the final version, there might be more detail in some of these boxes.
Ooh.
So there might be more information coming.
Ooh, they'll put that
Maybe.
ampersand between connection and identity rather than a slash. Oh yeah, get that detail there.
Might steal destiny, which may or may not be related to fortune.
Maybe fortune, parentheses, maybe.
Asterisk.
Asterisk, yes. Oh, David, you
there's
don't know about
there's no-
asterisk.
Oh my god.
I know about the symbol, but
Yeah, no, Brandon's been saying at signings now when he's like, yes, asterisk. Like, he's not saying everything. He's been saying that a lot.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? We blabbed a lot. Thank you
We did blah blah.
for sticking with us. This episode
don't try this at home.
Please do not try Hemalurgy at home.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Or you will be arrested.
You will definitely be arrested. Hopefully. You just have to
But if
spike
you-
the ferrochemical speed and then you'll outrun the cops. Don't do this. Don't do this.
Or,
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
it's
guys.
Destiny the game. That's what it steals.
That's what I
Yes.
think
The game Destiny.
Like,
Yeah.
pirated
Just a serial
copies.
key.
All right, guys. It's time for Who's That Cosmere Character?
This character is from Roshar.
Menace.
Tien.
Tom.
Braze.
Hoid in drag on a horse.
It's time for Who's That Cosmere Character? Caw. All right, guys. So, Aremus, a while ago in Discord, created a Who's That Cosmere Character Oaths Challenge. And these are sent in from Ash. It's a little different now. And I'm just gonna read this email. Shardcasters. Odium is free, and the ancient oaths have been sworn again. The following characters have sworn oaths unique to their own personality. My question to you is simple. Who's that Cosmere character? And so here are 5 oaths. Okay? So that's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
All right?
Oh, I see.
Special oaths.
This is clever.
Yeah. I like this.
Well, I'll reserve that until after, and if I agree with things.
Yeah.
So,
If the third
this
one is I will
potentially
destroy
clever.
the Shin. Yeah. They're like, who could it be?
All right. Oath 1. I will lie if it aids me in my goals.
Mraze.
No.
Grave.
No.
Wait, this isn't just Rashar, right? Rashar, right?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay, I was just curious because it was like themed so heavily. Stormlight. Shay.
No. Stop it.
No need to be shy about it.
I love a good pun.
Kelsier.
No. All right. Oath 2. I will avoid temptation in my journey for strength.
Prathan?
No.
Dalinar?
I was literally gonna guess that.
No. It's not Dalinar.
I'm so stuck on Roshar right now. I can't leave. I'm like a sprint.
Bound. Out of this.
You're bound to... You're bound like the enemy.
Hey,
Basher?
No. Do you have a guess, Evgeni?
who gets tempted?
Yeah.
What was the first one?
I will lie,
lie.
if it aids me in my goals.
Breeze.
No. 03. I will stop at nothing to achieve my goals.
Well, I mean,
I already guessed
like,
Calcier.
that supersedes.
Rorschach?
No.
Literally nothing? Okay. Ooh.
Is it Vin?
No.
The temptation thing is what I'm. It looks like Ian's
Yeah.
got an idea and he's like sitting on it. But I don't know. I'm gonna pass. I don't have an idea this time.
Ruin.
No. I will not harm others, no matter the strife it causes me.
Blue fingers.
No.
Hoyd.
Okay.
It is Hoyd!
Oh, okay.
Didn't
Yeah.
take a shard, right?
Oh, that's a temptation.
Yeah,
I
I
see.
think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll stop at nothing to achieve his goals.
Stop at nothing makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
the harm others, like, started thinking Hoyd. Yeah.
Yeah. And the last one.
I went to preservation.
Yeah. It's like shards. And the last one is I will follow the road less traveled as I weave from life to life.
Nice.
All right. Next one. I like these. These are fun. I
Yeah.
like these.
Well, it's more about characterization
Yeah.
traits than like
Facts.
like attributes or facts.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's,
right,
It's
right.
interesting.
Yeah. All right. Oath 1. My journey has changed. My destination abandoned.
Vivenna.
No.
Ooh.
I like that though. I like that.
Yeah.
Moash.
No. Also an excellent guess, I feel.
Rock.
No.
Kelsier. I'm gonna guess it every time.
It is Kelsier. You cheater. You cheater, pumpkin eater. But
No, that fits him though.
no, it does. It
Like,
does. It does. It does.
fits
His
him
life.
really well.
Yeah. No, it does.
Yeah.
The next one is I will find every truth that can help those cast aside. I will rise to every occasion and champion my ideals eternally. I will avenge
Definitely.
those who have been forgotten. I will survive anything, and so will they.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, fortunately for us, there's a third one in those emails, which is good because you got it so fast. So great. That works out really great. Oh, perfect.
There we go.
All right.
Release me.
I know. Last one. I go on ahead to forge the path for my children to follow.
The Stormfather.
No. I like it, though.
Rock.
No.
Honor.
No.
Kelsier.
Is that your guess?
No.
Oh, you already guessed.
No, it was a joke.
Yeah.
Gavilar.
No.
Okay.
I will forge ahead no matter the toll it takes on me.
Silence.
No.
Ooh. I like that guess though.
Children.
Kine.
No.
Keen. Okay.
No, I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
I said wrong.
Kai-Ein.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
said it wrong twice.
No, shut up. No one cares.
Obviously, I care.
Other than you two and like two other people. Okay, that's not true. There's more than a few people who care, but
Rayoden.
no.
I don't know why I guessed that.
He's gonna be a dad at some point. You
Yeah.
never know.
Oh,
Hope of
3.
Elantris.
Oh, 3. I will rebuild myself, creating new strength from shattered history.
Ham.
No.
We didn't guess Dalinar already, did we?
No.
No.
Dalinar.
It is Dalinar. The
Yeah.
last two are I will bring fallen traitors and glorious leaders together and make them my allies. And the last one, which of course gives it away, I will reclaim the ancient ways to bring us out of the darkness once more.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, I thought of Dalinar at the first one when I said Gavilar. No, it won't be Dalinar. It's too...
I like how like they were like main characters too, and it's like, oh, it makes you think about
This is
things.
officially a clever idea.
Yeah, so if you want to do this and send in some oaths, that's good. No, I don't know if people have sent in more. What's that Cosmere location? I do want more of those because I'm very good at that one.
I think with the O's, it kind of has to be a more major character because you need to know enough about their. Like you can do this. Even like someone like, I don't know, like random guard or whoever, or a random shopkeeper, like you're not going to know enough to.
Yeah, right. True. But it's like, I mean, there's a lot of side characters that would qualify.
Yeah.
Not going to be one that's...
even like, I was just thinking like, oh, you couldn't do Demu. Like, actually, you probably could.
I was just thinking that some random guards are not all that.
Right.
Yeah, you'd probably have to make them like main cast or like the supporting cast, like characters everyone would be like, oh yeah, I know who that is, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Great, guys. Well, thank you for sticking with us on these 2 episodes, blabbing about the bloodiest subject of all, Hemalurgy. And you know what's going to be next week, guys? We're going to talk about more Skyward Words of Brandon. Oh, yeah. Great.
Release me.
Luckily, that is in the past for us.
Yes. Yeah.
But the future for you.
For the future for you.
Time zones are weird, okay?
Time zones are very weird. How do dates work?
They are.
Good thing Ben isn't here.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
David, I would like to congratulate you for buying a mini USB cable. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
What was it difficult to acquire your mini USB cable, or do they still sell those?
I had to talk to the Walmart sales associate, but he hooked me up with one that has 3 different ends, and I've got a multi-prong. Yeah. No.
How much did you pay for that?
More than I should have, but not too much, because I was like, I need to get something.
Tell me how much. I'm very curious.
It was $20.
It
was like $8 for like the actual cable online. So
okay,
if you're gonna be lazy and pick it up day of, you're gonna pay.
You know, we could have like told you like 3 weeks ago to just order one.
Well, yeah, but I like thought about the big one. I was like, oh well, I'll find it.
And you have not.
I didn't know. That's why my camera's adjusted the way it is.
Yep. Thank you also for coming on, Matt. It's been quite a while since we've recorded one with you.
No, since this is my first one on video.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, we have seen each other's faces for a long time because we record with video. But you guys only saw the audio. Well, heard the audio.
Saw the audio.
Well, look, maybe they were watching the YouTube video and it just had a blank screen on it, and they were listening. So there you go. They saw the audio.
Background.
All right, enough of this pedantic cast. We will see you all next time. Follow us on 17chart.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, YouTube. Leave us a review on iTunes, and see you all later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Did you know that Hemalurgy could have been called Sangromancy?
Yes, I did know that. I remember that. Caw.
Bye.
Caw.